I really think it's about resonance and frequency. Like, do you vibe with it? That's why my content is the way it is. That's why I refuse to accept YouTube's prescription for how I'm supposed to run my channel. So I don't bother my audience with smash that notification bell and, be sure to like and I don't like being told what to do. And so I figure the people who are going to be into what I'm sort of spilling aren't really going to like being told what to do either. So out of sort of congruity, really, I'm not someone who likes being told what to do. So I'm not going to sit there and tell you what to do just because I want something from you. And I've never been that way. And people have taken advantage of that. But my point is, that's who I am. That's my frequency, right? And so the question to any audience or anyone who would be considering whether or not they want to watch me or not is like, well, do you vibe with it, right? Do you resonate with his content? And so that's, I think, the facts these days, right? Is whether or not you resonate with it. Because once you resonate with something, again, once you resonate with something, you're going to start creating it. That's going to be what you create. And so that's why there's so many flavors here on earth to sort of, that's the truth, right? That you're being drawn into situations to co-create or to create, to be the genesis yourself. You are, the world maker, the terraformer, the world maker, like from Superman. I think that's what it's called. World maker, something like that. And so the truth is, and listen, or the facts, we'll say. The facts are that you're being distracted so that you're not busy focusing on what you want to create. You're focusing on what someone else wants you to create for them. That is what is happening. That is the structure to everything is co-opted. Everything of any value is co-opted. That might be an American thing. I think that's an American thing. I think that ethos was spreading to the world. But it's very American to basically, if something's good, once it proves itself, like I was saying about Tucker and Candace and Ben and Nick and Sean and Joe, it gets co-opted after it's proven. And everything, more or less, over time that was once good sells out. YouTube did it. That's why everyone, that's why Mr. Beast is like the number one YouTuber, like straight the devil analogy. Because it's an analogy, right? That's the fact, right? No, he's not the Beast, he's Mr. Beast. Like, okay. That's the facts. So, do you resonate with my content? For instance, we'll use me as an example. That is a fact, right? I resonate. And one of the reasons why I signed up, or why I really got very interested, I never signed up, he never asked me to sign anything, with the There Is a Way that I talk about, that you've seen me mention. And I actually noticed his site is gone. I hope he's okay. Alex Wylon, he just put his content out, and that's the way YouTube, that's the way YouTube used to be. You would just float it, and the algorithm wasn't all sadistic or weird like it is now, and so stuff got shared, and it was pretty basic. It was relevancy based. And if people resonated with your content, they would just sign up. You didn't have to conform to the algorithm's demands in order to become amplified. And that's how I think we determine truth nowadays. Less and less are we sort of looking towards institutions to tell us what's up. I think we're all witness to the end of the institution as any sort of authority of any kind. And, we are basically the latchkey kids of the universe, just trying to figure it out on our own. With literally no mom or dad to help us figure it out. And so, the new economy is about being able to intuit, knowing the truth. Discernment is huge. Who you are on the inside, very important now. Because that manifests, that reflects on the outside. And as people sort of realize what a disguise or costume sort of looks like to the naked eye, or the trained eye, as you look around and you see people walking around in their costumes, you can tell the difference, between who's real and who's not, or who's who and who's what. People are wearing their internal states on the outside, and we know that now. So it's easy. We're spotting it. And so you have to sort of be congruous these days, because we've all become, in the age of enlightenment, so much wiser. We can see through BS. And there are certain people, OGs out there on YouTube, like, I will just drop Ralph Smart. Like, that guy is a hurdy-gurdy. He's a sales guy. He's just like and sign up and blah, blah, blah. And he's just, you can't even get through the first 10 minutes of a Ralph Smart video without him hitting you up or shaking you down like 10 times at least. You're just getting shook down. And then as he gets through, his 10 minutes of self-promotion at the beginning of his videos, you get to the content. And that's not me. That's not my brand. That's not why I'm here. But he makes it work. And so it's about resonance. Right? Do you identify with what you're hearing, or is it repulsive sounding to you, and do you want to run and hide from it? I'm sort of musical, so my ear's pretty good, and I generally hear the truth faster than I see it. And so a lot of it, is harmonics. It's that simple. Like, ew, I hate the sound of his voice, or wow, like I could listen to him talk for a while and it would be good. And this is how we're making our decisions now. And that is part of what was taken from us. Right? That's what they took from us. That's what discernment is. Like, I just sort of listen to what I like is now becoming an acceptable answer again. It used you had to justify everything for a while there. Right, which is why it's like those people like to use the facts. Right, that's what the facts were created for. Because if you couldn't justify it factually, then it would not be, which is actually the opposite of true. That's actually taking your power to take any thought and turn it into a fact away from you. Like, that's not a fact. Well, it is because I said so. That's what makes it a fact. And I'm not talking about the facts of a crime or the facts of a press conference. You know, the facts of something that took place between two sovereign individuals, you know, between them. I don't know what those facts are. They can tell me what those facts are. And those facts could be universalized. Right? We can all as a country decide to consent or agree to this being a fact. And if we all decided to do that, that would be what it was. It would be a universally held fact until we decided to change our mind, and then it wasn't. And you see, what we're starting to understand is the plasticity of what is based on what we think. This is the new info. I mean, we've been saying it and saying it, but it's starting to actually become embodied. Like, you get what you focus on. And this is disclosure, right? Back when you get what you focus on was allowed to sort of slip out, that's them telling us. They got to tell us. You get what you focus on. But we're telling you that you have to focus on this, right? Like, you have to focus on making money. You have to focus on your job. You have to focus on your reputation. You have to focus on your personal life. You have to focus on your private life. You have to focus on your secret. You have all these focuses that you are required to focus on, to have. But when you wake up and you realize that you really do get what you focus on, and that, that was disclosure. And so you damn well better focus on what you want, not what they want, to create the reality you want to see. And therefore, right, you're creating the facts. Nick Shapiro or Ben Fuentes could be sitting there screaming at you till they're blue in the face that, like, Nick might be trying to convince you that a particular country is bad, and, Ben might be trying to convince you that a particular country is not bad. And they both work for the same country. And so as they're trying to convince you of the facts as they believe them, they're actually working for the same corporation, basically. They have the same MO. There's no difference between either of them. And, they're just trying to help, or they're trying to get you to help them. They're co-opting you, which is, again, it's a huge theme. Everywhere, everything gets co-opted. They're co-opting you to help co-create some bullshit-ass facts because you make it so. That's what the double slit experiment proved. That observation creates matter. What we expect to see is what reality conforms to create. It's what the wave collapses into the particle to create our expectations. Expect it, and you'll see it. And so they're the ones seeding our minds with expectations. They're seeding our minds with expectations because what we expect, we will see. So again, what are the facts? Well, and so what is the override code? Have the focus. Right? Again, like, why have the mental muscles of humanity atrophied? So, people, their minds have gotten soft. Like, people, if you can concentrate in 2025, like, that is a serious advantage. Like, if you can sit and concentrate on one thing for a long time, it's like, being a superhero, if you can concentrate, which is what Take Back Your Power of Thought is basically saying. Like, we have to concentrate. And as someone who practices a lot on concentration, it doesn't feel like concentration if you practice. We literally have to get back to a place, like, we've gotten so out of shape that just doing normal things like the equivalent of walking around, has us winded. as it pertains to the control of our mind. That's why everything is 30 seconds now. That's why I deliberately kind of speak slowly and conversationally and just sort of assume I have a captive audience. I mean, I did go through the trouble of building a set and spending thousands of dollars and doing everything Casey Neistat told me to do, so that I could have your undivided attention. You know, I wasn't trying to compete with other people, so that I could speak deliberately. And, you know, speaking deliberately is so off the table. And I am warmed, you know, to see people becoming more adept, or at least leaders who know how to have conversations, you know, having better conversations publicly where one person talks and another person listens and people sit and nod and take each other in. And I see this primarily on the, you know, the patio of the coffee shop, which is where the people who know how to do this come to do this. I get it. But even that echelon has become less competitive. Conversations aren't competition. You know, the Ben Shapiro's of the world who think you have to talk fast and in a super high voice, and they think you just have to get everything. The debate champions, the fast talkers, they had us all believing that we weren't speaking fast enough. But that's not true. Again, they tried to alter how we thought about things so that, you know, we would assume that those were the facts. Fact is, if you're not talking fast these days, no one's going to listen to you. Is that right, Ben? Ben Fuentes? You got to talk faster. No one's going to listen to you. You have to have a high voice. And you got to tell people to like and subscribe. And you got to smash the notification. Yeah, I don't believe in talking fast. I think if you want to listen to what someone has to say, you should just listen and let them do what they need to do. Because people who think and then take what's up here and make it come out here, you know, once you really start to lean into that, it's work. Trust me. So if you have respect for the person for whom you claim to have respect for, you know, that's why you're there with them, listening, presumably, to what they have to say. Just let them talk. It is not a fact that if you talk slowly or deliberately, you know, people will not like you. And, you know, again, to my point, this is how we regrow our mental muscles. Let the other person talk. Listen. Be accountable for what you just sat and listened to. Learn. Right? Learn about the person who's sharing with you in that moment. Become an expert on them. This is how we get our power of thought back. Being better listeners. Yeah, I can remember in my 20s, like I would have entire conversations with people who were like super important to me, and I would not be able to remember a single word from the conversation because all I was thinking about the whole time is what I wanted out of it. What I wanted to say, what I wanted them to think of me, like what the next cool whatever would be. Like I was not there. And it, you know, the dissonance between thinking I really cared about these people and at times not even hearing a single word said, you know, it eventually started to teach me things about my inability to sort of get outside myself long enough to even hear what the person across from me was saying sometimes. So, being better listeners. And again, like you're in the now, and you're co-creating in that moment. You're in that moment aware that as you engage with this person, you are co-creating the reality that is being shared. And so that those are the facts. That's the facts. Like if you are being a compassionate or sympathetic or hopeful or aspirational or cheerful counterpoint, you and the person you're having a conversation with are basically painting a reality picture together during whatever conversation you're having or whatever topic you're discussing. We know this is true about music, right? This is why they used catchy lyrics to ensnare us, right? To just get us on thought loops. Like, who knows? Like, someone needs to do the gematria and the, like, whatever numerical history and etymology of 8675309. Like, why? Or, I don't know. Running with the Devil by Van Halen. Yeah. And on and on. I mean, yeah. Black Sabbath song titles. So you are co-creating with that person in that conversation you're having. You're co-creating with that person during that conversation you're having. And so, you know, how do we determine nowadays, you know, what the facts are, what's true for us, or, you know, resonance, right? Frequency. Like, and that's why Tesla said, if you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. Because that's what we are. That's how everything is created. That's what we perceive. That's what's all around us. Matter is not solid. It's not. Like, this table is a fact. Like, it's an apparition. Yep. Everything's frequency and vibration. We're not even solid. We're 99.9 to the whatever 100, 99.9999% space. We're made out of atoms. Atoms are space. So we are energy, spirit, ether, being perceived through a human central nervous system, right? The self observing the self, the soul observing the self observing the soul. We are the here and now and the quantum field of possibility happening simultaneously. So, yeah, it is important to know your role in the creation of reality so that you can sort of be a responsible co-creator. Those are the facts. Tucker. And that's why, you know, the likes of Tucker, et cetera, are constantly trying to tell us what to think. So that, you know. But I do believe, and we'll wrap this up, that they are, at this point, they're just mirrors, or what I would say is they're using reverse psychology and screens. Again, just so that our predictions, right, so that we can see more of our predictions pan out. Like I called the whole Candace and Tucker and Ben thing and Joe a long time ago. Like I saw it coming. It was just like, oh man, here they come. The new alt media. Like, and I read someone wrote a very insightful meme basically saying that the only reason we're not doing TV anymore is because the internet is infinitely more trackable. And they're right. Like, who needs Nielsen ratings when you've got Google Analytics on everyone? So yeah, but they are positioning themselves as the source of facts. And again, like, is Erica really a grieving widow? Really? where's Charlie really? What happened to Charlie? And so if that's going to be sort of the status of facts, you might as well just do what you want and make the life you want. And that should be really, like, those are your facts, right? That's what's true for you. I'm happier than Elon Musk. Like, I like the way I'm showing up for my life. I like the way I treat reality, nature. I like the way I treat God's creation better than Elon does. Like, I think if anyone asked me if I ever wanted to trade places with Elon Musk, it would be an unequivocal no thank you. I'm good where I'm at. Which I said this a couple years ago, and I've heard it sort of out there, that I'm basically already living the life of a millionaire or billionaire. I wouldn't change very much about what I'm doing if, tomorrow $100 million showed up in my checking account. I might get some new tires, some more camera gear, solidify a few things, but I just keep right on doing what I'm doing for the most part. Those are the facts. That's a fact. Joy, contentment, peace. As within, so without. Like, the world around me is, becoming peaceful because I'm becoming peaceful. And we don't really see these alt media megastars talking about stuff like that. It's sort of like the precipice they get to. Like, they kind of always want to keep you in the belief that on some level we require what they're selling to keep going, and we just don't. Like, we don't need any of it. And I've seen a lot of collective sort of or shared criticism of that phenomenon, like of seeing the same people trying to convince us, that they're somehow more legitimate now, because they sort of came out when they came out, which, no offense, but I mean, in 2020, when the vid was happening, like, all of you all fell in line. All of you. You all fell in line. I remember. You didn't say it. You didn't say anything about it. You didn't try and stop it. None of you lost your job over it, even though Tucker will say ultimately he did. It's 2 years later. 2 years is a long time, especially when you've got that kind of mic. Tucker had the mic. I give him a C, strong C, for how he managed that situation. And I'm sure he had very little decision making in any of it. I'm sure he was just doing what he was told. And he got a C. Grading based on authenticity, truthfulness, transparency, a genuine desire to help humanity with that very important position that he occupied in our collective consciousness for a fleeting moment in history. But we see through them, and like I was saying, I've been delighted to see the mass consciousness upheaval around them, trying to sling that at us as if we're going to buy it. So my hat's off to my fellows. I'm delighted. And so I think we're seeing just sort of people who want to anchor their perception of reality on the concept of a fact. Like, it's not, what, is this a fact? And I think what this process is teaching us is that there's no such thing as facts anymore. Like, and Many would argue this is a solipsistic sort of like human beings is the center of everything way of looking at it. And I guess truthfully it is. I mean, because if you see humanity as the epicenter of creation, which I think that's what we're realizing, which is why we're so meddled with, because we're being used as batteries or reality creators, that fact is subjective. Fact is based on our intent. Intent drives creation. True intent, which can't be faked. Your true intention comes from, it emanates from the unconscious or subconscious realms. And so, really, the facts are about intention, which I know it sounds pretty woo-woo, but if there's one thing we've learned through this process of the Great Awakening is that so much of what we think is real is just made up. But it was real until we realized it was made up, and then it's like, oh wait, like that's just the way it works. Like it was real because we were making it real. Oh, like it's not the spoon that bends, it's only myself. Like, oh. So yeah, so much of the facts. What are the facts? The facts are intention. The facts are intent. I don't know about any of that other stuff though. John be talking about. Donald Trump assassination attempts. Like, I'm not sure. So it's a fact. He got shot in the ear. That's a fact. Are you sure? Are you sure? Or trust the science. Science is facts. So what is factual? I think what we're realizing is that if we have an idea or a belief that we believe strongly enough, that we have made space for, that we truly are convinced that if we prepare for it in our minds, we will see it in our reality. And that's the fact. And so if we're the ones that are creating reality, then we're sort of creating facts, which is subjective. And so people who want you to prove it, well, it doesn't really work that way. And I think that's part of the egregious redundancy around, like, well, is it a fact? Trust the science. Like, all these little language games to convince us to forget or to help us forget, or I don't know how you use that as a verb, so that we forget that we're actually the ones who create facts. Because if we knew that, we could factually create a reality where people who want to enslave us, or entities and beings who want to enslave us, don't exist. And they wouldn't if we knew this, which would explain why certain elements or algorithms don't want you to know this. Okay. Yep. Just wanted to share that real quick.